IVM.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 44 of the Fighting G.O.A.T, where we are going to talk about the man who's 4-0 in boxing. He's had a splendid mixed martial arts career, one of the greatest of all time, none other than the Spider, Anderson Silva. Woo! We have a lot more coming up on the next fight card with Jose Aldo back in the octagon. All of this right after this short commercial break.
Hey everybody, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On The Habit Coach, Ashton talks to Garima Pandey. She is the co-founder of Wandering Jane. They discuss solo travel and how it's perceived. Does the story of a fake lawyer on the run sound interesting to you? Then definitely tune into Misconduct. Raghvi and Nisha discuss the story of Ceci Xavier. On KBCD, Farhad and Sunitru discuss how sometimes people don't feel inclined towards sex, some possible causes, and how it's okay to feel so occasionally. On Press Decode, Sarah and Prafula are joined by author and journalist Sandeep Roy. They discuss the no stags policy that many bars and restaurants follow across the country. Do check out Hanswani, the story Tirthan talks to us about the aspiration and challenges of widowed women. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Also, do remember, go check out our website, ivmpodcast.com/YouTube, to get a list of all of our YouTube channels. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors on the network this week: Cred, Bank of Baroda, HDFC Mutual Fund, CoinSwitch, Kuber, Intel, and Oxfam India. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another exciting episode of the Fighting G.O.A.T, where we speak to the man himself, none other than Anderson the Spider Silva. Well, he's not here with us, but we have the world's biggest MMA fanatic and Spider fan, Arjun, aka Mystic Chips, who's here with us, and obviously Somesh, Superhuman Kamra. Chips, how was it just to take a breather for 1 week and not have a fighting week?
But technically, it's not really a breather when we do it, man. I mean, we talked about it, even though we weren't doing anything in an official capacity, but we were still talking about it. I mean, we met last week and we were talking about fights, and we were talking about how Govinda should be more part of our show every time that we do things. and just general rubbish from all around.
Absolutely.
But it was because I think it was a break. It was a break because of Thanksgiving weekend. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
North America and Canada and whoever celebrates Thanksgiving. Me personally, I don't know what Thanksgiving is. I mean, I went for a Thanksgiving party once.
No, but why is it celebrated?
I think it's something, I don't want to say white people, but it's something from that part of the world where only they celebrate. I don't know what it is, to be honest. So I went for Thanksgiving once and it was okay. I mean, I don't know what was happening. It was just a lot of food.
Well, as long as there are free drinks and food, we are there.
Yeah. It's like a big family dinners where, you start off with saying hello to everybody, but halfway through the drinks and the food, the jagda chalu ho jata hai. I remember you didn't come and all that. So it's the airing of grievances also. That's part of that entire thing.
Well, maybe that's why it's called Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you give thanks to whatever. So here at the Fighting G.O.A.T Summation, I give thanks to an awesome audience that has been supporting us. We are on our 40th episode, which is a big deal within itself. We've been going strong, and we are going to be presenting our second segment, which is coming up, is the Legends series. It's going to happen once a month, and we're starting off with none other than the greatest legend himself, Anderson the Spider Silva.
Oh man, what can we say about this gentleman? What can we say?
There's a lot, but first we have to talk about the week that was.
Yes,
there were no fights as such on in terms of the UFC, but one thing I saw that was actually quite sad. Frank Mir made his way back into boxing, and he took on a professional fighter, and he got knocked out very, very badly. Like he was asleep in the air.
Yes, we all saw that. It was not the prettiest sight because the former UFC champion, heavyweight champion, Frank Mir, like all the other fighters, has made his foray into boxing professionally. And man, that was so sad to see him get knocked out so badly.
No, but it's like, you see, Frank, if you look at his tendency, if you look at that tape, okay,
Yeah.
Frank, when he gets knocked out, he pitches back and forth. He goes like this, like he's like one tuck. He's standing on his feet, but he's moving back and forth. He's pitching back and forth.
Right.
And we saw that against Nogueira when Nogueira tagged him. We saw them against Junior Dos Santos when he tagged him.
Right.
And he's been having a habit of going that way. The
Right.
difference is now in MMA, the minute he goes to the ground, he kind of gets his sense back. He
Correct.
gets his sense. He takes time. He takes a few minutes, and then you saw
he
against
gets that breather also. There's a
Correct.
little breather you get, of like some 4 or 5 seconds. And being
Correct.
being a BJJ black belt and grappler, he obviously is very
Dude, one of
accustomed.
the greatest BJJ guys.
Absolutely.
To ever
he's,
step in.
He's obviously very accustomed to, going to the ground and catching his breath and easing into it.
So they they relaxed the rules for Mir to even have a little bit of an edge in the clinch. They allowed a lot of clinch work in
Officially?
that sense. Yeah, officially. They allowed a little bit of clinch, dirty boxing. And
Wow.
even then, the thing is, see, that's the thing. This is what I keep saying, man. We talk about the best hands in MMA. Well, I can maybe count on one finger how many boxers who have come out of MMA have made it somewhere in boxing. Because
Correct.
the level of striking is so different. The
Correct.
footwork is different. The way the hands move is different.
Correct.
The head, the slips, the dodges, the parries.
Yes.
They're
Yes.
so different. You don't even see a parry in MMA.
Correct.
And it's granted, it's an advanced move, but still, my point is that we don't see that kind of striking.
Correct.
So
And,
to expect that,
it's a completely different sport, But what's happening quite surprisingly is that so many MMA fighters who have retired from the UFC and Bellator have gone on to bare knuckle, have gone on to boxing, but still, like someone like Frank Mir, who actually specializes in jiu-jitsu, I don't think he'll find great success there because boxing is a vicious sport.
dude, it's not only vicious. It's also they were fighting with smaller gloves. It was
Yeah.
the 6-ounce gloves, not the 12-ounce or 14-ounce gloves.
Oh man.
And ideally,
that's
heavyweights
crazy.
should fight with the 12-ounce gloves because they hit
should.
that hard.
They should.
And it's bad, man. And the way Mayer was just going, thank God Dan Murgliota stepped in, man.
Yeah.
It's like, stop the fight. The guy is unconscious in the air.
I'm in fact quite surprised that Junior Dos Santos has not made a comeback into boxing. No,
Dude, he's in wrestling.
is he?
I love it. Yeah, I saw him get rock bottom through a table or something. And I was like,
God.
Is that Junior? I'm like, hang on. Let me rewind and see. Like, that's Junior Dos Santos.
I mean, I've not watched wrestling in a very, very long
he's
time. But
embracing that role so well. He's embracing that role so well. And I think he's genuinely happy.
Yeah, I mean, it's more fun and games, to be honest, down there. And
no, because after taking those kind of beatings and that kind of war, I mean, this is like, I'm not mocking the, pro wrestling guys, but as compared to getting smashed in your face, like, for 5 rounds, I think that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I'm quite surprised that Cain Velasquez didn't make an impact there because he's definitely one of the top guys who could really perform well. But, seeing him get released by WWE was quite sad.
See, Cain may have all the physical tools, but come on, man. I mean, as a personality, he didn't really sell fights either.
Correct.
I mean, his trilogy was because of Junior talking.
Yeah.
And Junior talked a lot during that time.
And he also has this, this larger than life personality. He's a good guy with vicious hands and great knockout power and stuff.
Sweet guy.
I think it comes down to, who can really knock the living lights out of you.
Exactly. And it was so good to see Junior Dos Santos. He was outside the ring and you could see the fans. I think it was AEW wrestling. and you just saw him and Junior Dos Santos got rock bottom. Somebody just rock bottom the former UFC heavyweight champion. And I'm like, wow. But he really looked happy. He jumped into the move perfectly and all that. It looked good, dude.
It's quite surprising that, when we see these MMA fighters who are, transitioning into the world of professional wrestling, I somehow cannot digest the fact that they're trying to, fake these tough looks. I could never really relate to Ronda Rousey giving those kind of looks in the, in the ring because they were not real. And it was visibly looking fake. And I'm like, someone who can do it really can obviously fake it, but clearly not.
I mean, it's if you look at that the roster of people who went there.
Yeah.
I mean, Bobby Lashley was a former wrestler who came into MMA.
Right.
And then realized it was not for him, so went back into wrestling.
Right.
Which is smart. Take it.
Right.
That's you at least gave it a shot.
Right.
Dave Bautista, at the end of his career, came into MMA for one fight and left and went back into wrestling. Went back into acting, actually, to be honest. And he's doing so well for himself.
Right.
Like, come on, man. He's insane. He's a superstar now. So the best, I mean, if you look at Cain Velasquez, he went in, he crashed, he burnt, and he left.
Yeah.
From the WWE. Ronda Rousey, same situation.
Right. Right.
I don't know. I mean, Ronda had all the makings of a heel,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
She slammed Triple H and slapped Stephanie and all that. I'm like, that's the way to go.
But you know what? I am 100% guaranteed that Conor's team is definitely talking to WWE. For sure.
Dude,
that conversation is always going to be on because this guy's a showman in the octagon. He's a showman in real life. And imagine he enters WWE. The first guy
is that
the first guy to enter WWE, with $1 billion contract and plus 10% stake in the company.
Dude, he probably will do that. I'm sure in the next 3-4 years, I think Conor's waiting to make a point. By the way, also in the news that in the week that we were talking about, we saw some pictures that emerged of Conor McGregor where he's looking like he said on his Twitter that he's 85 kgs now.
He's 187 pounds of pure muscle at the moment.
Man, 85 kgs and he's at middleweight. He's heavier than middleweight now.
Yeah, he is.
I don't know what he's planning.
1 kg above middleweight, technically.
I don't know what he's planning because I remember the last time he got big and then kind of, cut weight was against Khabib because he wanted that strength. Correct. In the grappling department. And correct. I think his fight against Poirier, he realized that maybe he compromised too much in the strength aspect to keep the speed.
Yes.
And then he realized that he didn't have the strength in the punches. They were not hitting. He was not sitting down on them.
Well, he actually struck Poirier twice with that left and Poirier just took it.
Correct. That's the thing. So it's not Conor's ability to get through somebody's guard. He can still get through. He can still hurt you. Yeah. But he's not sitting down on those shots.
Right.
I don't understand. Maybe that's why he's getting back in that strength form. When he came against Donald Cerrone, he was bulked up.
Yeah, he was huge.
He was heavy, huge. Man.
And he broke his nose with those shoulder strikes.
With those two shoulder strikes, he broke his nose, he broke his face, he hurt him, and essentially after that, we've not seen Cowboy.
Yeah.
He retired him in so many words.
Yeah, quite sadly.
So yeah, and the world of boxing was buzzing, man. We had a great lightweight showdown. Yes. And guys like Andy Garcia are jumping up and saying, I want to get back into the scene and get back into fighting. And it's I'm telling you, man, Somesh, we talk about it so much. Boxing is coming up in such a big way again. I mean, there are 6 new organizations within India that are promoting boxing.
Yes.
I'm going next week, this weekend. I'm flying to Hyderabad for a show for boxing to commentate.
Right. Really, which one is that?
It's called TIAR, TR Boxing. It's called Rage Boxing.
Oh,
TR
yes.
Rage Boxing.
In fact, they're having some really good Facebook promotions going on.
They have a lot of great promotions going on, and they've had a lot of great promotions and a lot of connections within the boxing fraternity. Like I'm recognizing some of the fighters who are there because I've seen them in the Army Boxing, Super Fight League, Super Boxing League, all these guys, and I'm recognizing them now. And they are planning these small shows, not very big ticketed, not very big fancy shows. Right. They're not going to do it. They're probably not going to do it in a Bombay, Delhi, Madras, Calcutta anytime soon.
Correct.
They're going to do it in the Hyderabad. They're going to do that in the Chennais, in the Punas, in Kozhikode, in the small places.
But what's happening with these promotions, I personally believe, is that they're recognizing newer talent, giving them an opportunity and building the brand plus a talent from there, which I think is a very smart move.
It is a very smart move. And the thing is that they're looking to make a mark immediately.
Yes.
They're looking to make a stand, because anyway, boxing has so many convoluted rules because of because of the ridiculous amounts of titles and the amount of unifications within a weight class.
And the weight classes that are like 5 pounds apart.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, the magazine belts and the unified WBO, WBC, and so many belts that exist from around the world.
Yes.
And Kambosos, the Aussie fighter who won last night, he's been slated as one of the best Aussie fighters to fight the game now.
Right.
And people are calling him out saying, let's, unify the belts. Boxing is a mix of there's a lot of stuff going on within one weight class.
Do you think at some level there's a resurgence happening in boxing because of so many private organizations? There are also a lot of sponsors willing to put in money into boxing.
That's the thing. People said that, if somebody asked me, in 2015, where's boxing going? I would say, dude, boxing is on a downslide. MMA is the future.
Yeah.
But I am now in 2021 saying that, shit, I see more of a resurgence of boxing than MMA in different markets.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more.
I see boxing coming up more.
And when we see the resurgence of boxing, there's one gentleman who has gone from the greatest of all time in MMA.
Oh, yes.
To back to boxing, I would say. Not exactly, but back to boxing is the one and only.
Yes, sir. It's the greatest fighter in the world. And, he's the amount of things that he's done is just something spectacular. I'm going to have to really focus my thoughts and compose myself, for which is why I need a quick, short break. You've been listening to Arjun Chipalkatti and Somesh, the Superhuman Kamra, only on ivmpodcast.com in the Fighting Go. We're on episode 40. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after these quick messages.
Come learn and experience the ABCDs of being queer with me, Shunetro,
and me, Farhad,
on our show, Gay BCD.
The two of us take you through our stories and experiences of being gay men in the city of Mumbai and have candid
and sometimes downright scandalous
conversations about sexuality, gay culture, and everything in between.
Catch new episodes of Gay BCD every Tuesday on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get all your podcasts from.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 40 of the Fighting G.O.A.T, where we're going to be speaking about the greatest MMA fighter of all time.
Bro, it's called the Legend Series.
It is the Legend Series. I mean, but see, Legends needs to be replaced, because when we speak of Legends, there's one name that comes to everybody's mind, and that is Anderson the Spider Silva.
Absolutely. Now, before we even get started, what constitutes a legend? What constitutes a legend in a sport? It's a lot of people, firstly, a lot of people of late, I won't say who, but who, Somesh, who I'm referring to, where people are calling some people a legend for retiring early and who are undefeated. That's not what a legend is. A legend, it doesn't matter, your wins and losses don't matter as a legend. It matters in the way you played, the way you performed, the way people remember you. What you're remembered for, you're not remembered for, getting decision wins and making people tap. No, I mean, making people tap also, yeah, sure. But, I think this is a personal bias that I'm having only because of, a lot of factors, but I'll try and keep myself a little more, disciplined. My point is that what makes a legend is, like, you look at Tendulkar, he's a legend. Yeah. He's been around forever. Yeah. He's been around forever through the thick and the thin. He started early, and then he built his life, a career. And the legacy that he's made will live on forever in somebody's mind.
Yes. So, see, typically in my mind, when we speak about a legendary figure, I would even say someone like a Rahul Dravid is a legend. Not because what he did in the sport, it's also what he did after the sport.
Precisely.
He went back to the grassroots at the National Cricket Academy and started training the absolute amateurs to groom them. And 6-8 years later, now he's the coach of the Indian team, dealing with the big boys and telling them on how to do stuff. So I do believe if you're speaking of legends, we need to speak and we need to look at it in the overall perspective with what are they doing with the sport, what are they doing for the sport, and how they have dealt with the sport during the prime time. Come on.
Exactly.
And Anderson Silva, when he came into the UFC, I think it was the year 2006 when they signed him, he was facing the undefeated Chris Lieben.
Chris Lieben was undefeated then?
He was 5-0.
Yeah, I remember. This was October 2012, I think, if I remember correctly.
It was 2006.
Sorry, October 2006. 2012 was when he finished, with his last win, I think.
2013, I think, was when he retired from the sport.
Even his injury.
Yeah. So, his winning streak and all that ended in 2013.
Wow, it shows.
So, imagine somebody who's facing Chris Lieben in their debut, which I'm saying is fine. But 16-0.
Yeah, man. I mean,
2,457 days of holding that middleweight belt. So he's actually done it all. And the best part is he's done it spectacularly.
See, that's exactly where my point begins. I mean, before I go to his career in the UFC, Anderson Silva was making waves outside that organization.
Yes.
He started off in Pride. He used to walk out to, Michael Jackson and Michael Jackson, one of his biggest, he loved Michael Jackson.
Yes.
And he loved to walk out to Michael Jackson. And Pride had these incredible, these live performances where people would walk out. And I think it's the only time I saw Wanderlei Silva standing behind and clapping and laughing was Anderson Silva dancing on his way in to come and destroy somebody,
Right.
And his career started there where he was in Pride, where he had an up and down road, where there were flashes of brilliance, but it was not brilliant.
Yes.
It truly changed for him was when he left Shooter Box. He left that Shooter Box camp and he started Black House along with
Nogueira. Yes.
Correct. Along with the Nogueiras and Machida and Aldo. And Aldo, of course, went to Nova União later.
Yeah.
But that camp, Black House, was one of the most feared camps in the world at that point in time, around 2005, 2006. And I remember when he went to Black House and he was sharpening, his skills in striking got so sharpened that he became the man in the Matrix. And then, we saw against Tony Strickland in Cage Rage, he landed an upward elbow.
Yes.
That he just was standing and he just went throat like that and he knocked this guy out.
Oh my God. And that was brutal.
That was brutal and elegant and beautiful. Like you'll remember it.
Yeah.
When you remember a guy, you're like, oh shit, I remember that. I remember this. I remember that. And you remember that. And then that's what got him to that Chris Lieben fight.
Yes.
And I remember Joe Rogan and Mike Goldberg saying that there's a lot of hype behind this man. But the thing is that the hype doesn't need to be justified. It's already justified. The hype is there. But there is no train.
What's the best part about Anderson Silva? I think he became a better fighter once he entered the UFC.
Yes, absolutely.
He came in with the hype, but he built himself in a way where people said, dude, this guy is better than what I thought.
Exactly. People didn't realize how good he was.
Correct. You see, because what happened even in Pride, he had about, I think, 4 or 5 fights out there. They were not spectacularly finished primarily because maybe they were not at Anderson's level.
No, I mean, it's also where he was. I'll say I'll give him one bit of credit. There are also a lot of fighters who cannot transition from fighting in a ring to a cage. Number one.
Yes.
Almost every fighter that has come in from fighting in a ring has not succeeded in the cage. Anderson Silva and Alistair Overeem are the only two guys who have managed to get somewhere.
Look at Mirko Krokop. What happened to him?
What happened to Mirko Krokop? He couldn't sustain the cage. Same thing with Fedor Emelianenko.
Yeah.
He couldn't handle the cage. Same thing with, Mark Hunt, but Mark Hunt doesn't care. He's just going to punch you.
Yeah.
He's just going to knock the shit out of you. But still, relatively successful. Not successful.
Yeah.
And Anderson Silva was somebody who was so comfortable in that first fight against Chris Lieben. You're going to be seeing pictures of these when you're hearing this podcast.
Yeah.
And you see he had a 95% strike rate in that fight.
Man, that's crazy. And he finished Chris Lieben in round 1.
He finished him. Firstly, Chris Lieben is a zombie. You can't finish him.
Yeah.
And Anderson it's not about how hard you hit. It's not about how fast you are. It's how precise you were. And that's what Anderson Silva showed the world.
Yes.
And what precision can do. Precision beats speed and power every day.
Correct. And, if the listeners do not know, Chris Lieben was a part of the Ultimate Fighter 1 series.
Yes.
The first one, which had the 16 best fighters to have ever competed in the
legends
Ultimate Fighter.
themselves. The legends themselves. They're
Absolutely.
all legends themselves.
So, and he was an absolute havoc in that house. Yeah.
Dude, he was, man. And Chris Lieben, of course, opened up that road to, Anderson Silva's greatness because Anderson immediately got a title shot against the then champion, Rich Franklin.
Yes. And it was, in fact, the first time that the UFC had opened online voting. Who do they want to see Anderson fight next?
And, right. I remember this.
And a lot of people, majority of the people said, I think he should get a title shot versus Rich Franklin. And that's exactly what happened. And we all know how that went.
Man, it was a symphony of destruction.
Yes.
I have never seen the fluidity in which a man has used the clinch. I've watched a lot of Muay Thai, but to see that perfectly used in MMA was hauntingly beautiful.
It was.
It was scary. Like you're shocked because of the devastation, but at the same time, the way he did it was something that you like. For years, people said, "Shit, don't want to be in Anderson's clinch."
Yeah.
I don't want to pass ही नहीं आने का उससे. Pass दूर भी रहो तो भी मार खाओगे. Pass भी आओ तो भी मार खाओगे. जमीन पे भी जाओ. And the thing is that he would not be afraid of guys like Travis Lutter, guys like Damian Maia, guys like Thales Natis, who were jiu-jitsu specialists, who tried to take him down and put him down to the ground and submit him. It was never easy, man. It's not easy doing that to the Spider.
Yeah.
And
it just shows natural talent. It just shows how fluid he is in the sport, how comfortable he is in that octagon. And, it's pretty much like his home. He just goes there and he dances and he performs for the audience.
Very true. It's, I remember seeing his documentary, and he was coaching one of his younger fighters from his gym.
Yeah.
And he was saying that, he was telling him in Portuguese, saying, he was yelling at him at the end of the round, saying, "What the fuck is wrong with you? What is the matter with you? You put in the hard work. Go enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Let go. Let loose. I'm not asking you to win. Just go and enjoy yourself. Go crazy. Have a good time.
Man.
And go enjoy yourself." And that guy did that and knocked out his opponent and won.
Oh, that's insane.
And that's insane. That's insane, man. I mean, it's like your coach telling you like, "Bro, no pressure. Go have fun."
Yeah,
Go have fun.
It's like who cares about winning and losing, man? Just go there and have fun.
Yeah, go out and have fun. Go enjoy. You put in the hard work. You put in the 12 weeks of training.
Right.
You've done the madness. Now go, put on a show, put on a spectacle. And that's what Silva was. And you could see that even after his, the thing is that when you are at that level, and to pull off those kind of moves, you have to be spectacular in your reflexes. Like Israel Adesanya is saying that at fighting Anderson Silva at 45 years of age was still dangerous because he dodged almost everything.
Correct.
He couldn't get a clean shot off on him.
Correct.
This is the man who has knocked out Paulo Costa, Robert Whittaker, who's has hurt Jan Blachowicz,
Kelvin Gastelum,
Marvin Vettori, and he's fought some heavy wars and knocked a lot of people out and still couldn't do that to the Spider.
Well, in fact, he has knocked out top middleweights in their prime.
Yes.
And Anderson Silva was pretty much on his way out when he fought Israel Adesanya.
Dude, he was on his way out since he was 40, 42, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
but he still hung around for 3-4 years more.
4, 5, 6 years more. Like it. But I mean, see, that's the warrior spirit inside him. He didn't care about his record. He didn't care about his legacy. He's like, my legacy is bulletproof anyway.
Correct. And
I'm not afraid.
And that's exactly what makes a legend. See, wins and losses is one thing. Those build records. But man, to be a legend, I personally feel the Diaz brothers are legends.
Yeah. Immediately induct them into the Hall of Fame and on the legend. Chuck Liddell, legend.
Chuck Liddell is a legend. They didn't care about winning or losing. They cared about putting on a damn show for the people. And that's exactly what we need. So many people compare Virat Kohli to Tendulkar, but the yesteryear people says, boss, Tendulkar is in a different league. Not only did he entertain people, not only did he win matches, but he was fluid in doing it. He had a good temperament. He donated some, to charity. He was doing good work outside. There are so many things that comprise on being a legend. And
you should let people sit on the car and all. Remember when they used to do chakkars of Wankhede? You should let everybody sit on his car and have Pepsi and all that while they drove around. Because he used to win Man of the Series almost every series.
The Maruti car that everybody sat
Whatever
on.
Maruti car, जो भी Hyundai आता था, सब लोग बैठते थे वो गाड़ी पे. And he never cared. Yeah. No, those are the memories. The drinks cart and the sitting on the car after the match is over, especially India, Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka, where the Star Sports team would be following that car, where everybody is jumping. And as kids, तो अरे वाह गाड़ी अंदर stadium के अंदर गाड़ी
stadium में घुमा रहे गाड़ी
एकदम and all. They calmly. No, it's that entire, it's that. See, that is what makes you a memorable fighter.
Absolutely,
it's not.
Absolutely.
I remember today Anderson Silva. When you say Anderson Silva, of course, I'm one of the biggest followers and fans in the world. I remember every stat of his. So that's a different story. But when you say Anderson Silva, yes, one of the biggest win streaks that is still unchallenged.
Yeah,
one of the greatest win streaks, one of the greatest title runs that is still unchallenged.
Yes.
And those are the stats, but nobody can match the way he finished his opponents.
Yes.
Like Vitor Belfort's front kick to the face. When Anderson Silva faced off Vitor Belfort, it was this Brazilian versus Brazilian,
Yes.
And Anderson used to never like. Remember when Anderson used to say, "I don't like facing Brazilians"?
Yes.
And you saw that against Damian Maia and Thales Latis. He had lackluster performances. Always said that I'm never going to face Machida and all that jazz. But he faced off against Vitor Belfort. There was that little bit of animosity. Thoda gussa tha in the remember the face out, the veins? He wears that mask and all that jazz.
Yeah, he wore the mask. That was finally used at, I think, the Squid Games kind of thing, though.
It was Squid Games mask only. No, so when we talk about the entire process of how Vitor Belfort and Anderson fought each other, I mean, okay, Somesh, you remember that. Tell me, what do you remember out of that? Like, okay, the fans already know that I love Anderson to death.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure they're already sick of hearing my voice during the special.
In fact, I was so happy that, you're just going off and having this beautiful flow of conversation. I'm like, dude, this guy's such a big fan. I don't even want to interrupt, because I would, see, I would talk about stats and I would talk about how great he is and, 2,500 odd days of holding the championship belt over 6-7 years. But, that passion that comes out of somebody who's so involved in Anderson Silva, someone who can even imitate him, and kind of, mark.
It's normal. UFC is a big place, a big organization.
Welcome to the show, Anderson.
It's a cool thing. It's number one. UFC, Dana White. He's a good man, right? Fight Forrest Griffin. He's a good man. I like UFC. UFC is number one.
Love you, Anderson.
Man, imitation.
Oh God, that was spot on. That was awesome.
Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and I cannot. I'm going to do this to him the day I meet him.
You're just going to cry and fall at his feet. Come on.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. That's not anybody who knows me. They know that's going to happen. I'm going to cry.
Just imagine, you're crying, you're going at his feet, and because he thinks that you're coming at his legs, he just puts his knee up.
That's fine. It's okay. At least I can say I got knocked out by the greatest. I'm like, one hole in my face, chalega, no problem. Later, he's all like putting barf on my eye, saying,
I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. I didn't know it. It's
Arjun, I will adopt you now.
Hey, yaar, please. Aise bolo. No, it's also when you talk about legends and you say you talk about Tendulkar, it's the sentimentality that people have for a fighter. You feel sentimental when Tendulkar got out. It was not that India was losing; it's Tendulkar got out.
Correct.
Like, Tendulkar got out. Shit. Ab kya hoga?
Yeah, the match is over.
The match is over. Correct. We didn't care whether India won or lost.
Yeah.
At that time, they're like, because somehow Srinath and Venkatesh Prasad managed to win.
Yeah.
But still, it's Tendulkar got out. It's a thing that makes a legend. It's a thing that makes that person unmissable. And
absolutely.
And then when he does spectacular things like knocking people out by a front kick to the face, which is ideally meant to create separation between the body, and he faked it to the body and went to the head, which turned out to be one of the most iconic pictures of his career.
Right.
You remember that photo, right? That front kick hitting Belfort on the face.
Oh man, that was, and after that, so many other fighters have tried to do that. But there's one moment in Anderson's career which I really loved, but I was not totally satisfied. It was in the year 2015 when the Ultimate Fighter Brazil was, I think, in their third or fourth season.
I think Chael versus Chael
and it was Shogun Rua and Anderson Silva. That were the two coaches.
What?
However,
when was the season?
However, the UFC said that the coaches would not face off at the end of it.
That is just weird.
And
I think even TUF was going through a weird time also during that time.
Right. And also because Anderson said he's not going to face off his fellow Brazilian, he said he's not going to fight Shogun Rua at the end of it. But it was one of those moments where we loved to see the entire season, but we knew that the coaches are not going to face off. So there was that little bit of disappointment there at the end.
Yeah. I mean, see, there was disappointment. That TUF Brazil has been a little disappointing anyway, because even Chael Sonnen versus Wanderlei Silva didn't happen till a lot later.
Yes.
It happened in a different organization.
Yes, absolutely.
And it happened in Bellator, I think. Yeah. And my point was that it was so upsetting because I was like, what the hell,
Right.
All that hype, all that maramari. I remember that scuffle in the house and we didn't get to see the fight.
Exactly. So sad.
I think that TUF Brazil only has a lot of problems. Yeah. But the kind of talent that came out of TUF Brazil was amazing.
Something else. I remember talking to, the bracket at UFC, and when they finally announced that they're going to be getting the first TUF Brazil, they had made arrangements to accept 500 fighters for trials.
Yeah. I believe it.
500.
I believe it.
Do you know how many turned up?
Some 10,000.
6,000. 6,000.
6,000 you will find on the streets of Rio only.
Exactly.
6,000 pro fighters. Huh? The amateur to usse bhi jata.
Imagine making arrangements for say 500 people for Indian Idol and 6,000 people show up.
Yeah, they do. I mean, it happens in roadies all the time.
Yeah.
Roadies says it's ready for 1,000, but they actually have capacity for 10,000. Chup ke. Raghu and Rajiv are ready for those 10 days. They're like, main padunga.
But speaking of the greatest of all time, there's no doubt the gentleman wanted to continue fighting in the UFC. And
but what has been your, like I always ask this of, when I talk about like fighters who they love, what has been the most important moment for you in when you think of Anderson Silva, what do you think of the most, like immediately?
Well, I obviously think about the fact that he was not the biggest guy in the middleweight division. At the same time, the power generation that he had in his body used to knock the best guys out.
It was weird, a lot of guys who have guys like Daniel Cormier, once he fought Anderson Silva, he had him in the clinch. He's saying that it's
at 205. At
205. And not to mention, Anderson took that fight on like 1 week's notice. Huh?
Yes.
And he said that he was shocked at how strong Anderson is in the clinch. Shocked at how strong he is.
It's almost like saying someone in this era, I would say someone like a Khamzat, who's not imposingly big. So he's not like a Francis Ngannou big. He's not like a Vitor Belfort big. He's not this muscular guy.
No, he's not muscly.
There are these guys like Khamzat, like Anderson Silva, who just have that raw power in them. And it was crazy to see it. There was Jack Hermanson that just faced a Khamzat in a wrestling match.
Oh, yeah.
And Khamzat was tossing him around like a rag doll.
Dude, he's got a different kind of strength. But again, see, the thing is now we're digressing to Khamzat. Because I want to see Khamzat against, that era now, when we talked about Anderson's reign, that era had a lot of pure wrestlers.
Yes.
Had a lot of pure wrestlers. Like if you look at welterweight had a lot of pure wrestlers.
Yes.
Like you see the Josh Koscheck's and the GSPs.
Yes.
And names elude me right now. And, BJJ guys like Shields and had Nick Diaz and there were a lot of pure guys, like even Chad Mendes, pure wrestler.
Yeah.
At featherweight. Chael Sonnen, pure wrestler at middleweight. Like Chael's double was not easy to dodge.
Absolutely.
You cannot. There's no fighter. I remember nobody, even Bisping, who has such great takedown defense, had trouble keeping Chael off him.
Correct.
And I would love to see Khamzat against like a pure grappler.
Yeah.
Like really pure.
That would be great. But, when it comes to the greatest of all time, Anderson Silva, I'm just quite astonished. He was not the most imposing figure physically. I'm saying physically, he was not the most.
He looked like a sweet guy. He looked like a damn good looking guy also.
Yeah. He could pass off as a college professor teaching maths or, geography or something of that sort.
He beat the shit out of the college professor teaching maths.
But when he went in there, he just proved that, striking accuracy and power doesn't depend on how physically built you are. You just need to have that power generation. And that just astonished me that he could generate that kind of force and torque from all angles, from all distances so well that it was something beautiful. Like it was artistic to me. It was completely artistic.
Just to sum up, I would say that, with all his records and his amazing performances, his good ones, his bad ones, his foray into boxing, his success in boxing has been amazing. And, I wish him nothing but the best. I hope Anderson Silva, he does these fun boxing fights and calls it and becomes the greatest coach of all time, because I would love to see what he's passing on to the next generation in terms of his striking.
Correct.
Because he's still one of the greatest fighters and one of the greatest coaches. I don't know about his coaching, but he's still one of the greatest fighters, greatest strikers we've ever seen, can hang in multiple generations. Multiple generations. He's still able to hang. It's just his speed and his reflexes that are going now. But then again, we saw a different story in boxing.
See, but
Who
speaking of which, his first boxing fight was when he was 23 years old, and this was way back in 1998.
Yep.
His first boxing fight. His second boxing fight was in 2005. His third boxing fight versus Chavez Jr. was in 2021 when he was 46 years old, and then he fought Tito Ortiz.
I mean, Tito fight was I don't know. Tito's not a striker, Tito's not really a striker.
True, but at the end of the day, there's a big guy in front of you, who's come on. I mean, see, at the end of the day,
Tito's got power, and Tito's not easy to knock out, man. Tito's got a big head.
Absolutely.
Huge head.
Absolutely. And at the same time, at the end of the day, it's a boxing fight. I mean, it could happen anytime. Anderson could have got knocked out. Tito could have got knocked out. But the fact that he could take someone like Tito out in the first round itself just shows that this man is on a different planet altogether.
Do you know the funny thing is that after that Tito knockout, Logan Paul called out Anderson Silva. and no, but if you want to now more, Logan Paul is fighting Mike Tyson. Oh my God, this is a dream come true. Because
God,
I think they'll have a side deal with Iron Mike saying, please don't demolish me on national television. Please, I beg you. I'll have to go back to the Disney Channel.
I will build you 3 more ranches.
I'll build you 3 more ranches, whatever you want. I'll give you, please.
Just to knock me out.
Take all the money. Just don't knock me out. Please, let me just hang in there. God. That being said, I'd like to leave all our listeners is firstly, go and find out who the legend is. Watch all his fights. I promised you, from that line from Gladiator could not ring truer. Are you not entertained? Is the line that is Anderson Silva's Sigma.
Absolutely.
And the man has been a legend inside and outside. And I'll leave you with one of his greatest parting words that he steals from Bruce Lee. He's like, be like water, my friends. Be like water. You can crash, you can stay still, you can flow, but be like water. And he has embodied that entire mantra, that spirit in whatever he does in his life. To one of the greatest fighters and one of the greatest people to ever embrace the sport, we say thank you, Anderson Silva. But at the same time, it's time to wipe away my tears and move on to what is coming up next week. We've got another legend in the making, Jose Aldo Jr., taking on the young stud Rob Font in that super duper stacked bantamweight division. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. You're listening to The Fighting GO.A.T only on IBMpodcast.com.
Are you looking for finance products and services that can enhance your personal finance experience? Are you looking for a space to talk about your financial product or service? And are you looking for a crisp talk show where the conversation is all about money? Well, your search ends here. Hi. My name is Anupam Gupta and I'm host of the Paisa Podcast, and I invite you for the conversation about your personal finance on each Monday on the IVM Podcast app or the website or on any podcast streaming platforms. See you folks.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 40 of The Fighting GO.A.T, where we had a brilliant discussion with aka Arjun Chipalkatti and his most favoriteest MMA fighter and now
I promise about next legends you will not hear a peep out of me because we're going to be covering Fedor Emelianenko.
Holy shit. But speaking of another Brazilian legend who's fighting this coming week, it is Jose Aldo taking on Rob Font. That card is brilliant. It's a fight night coming on December 5th in India.
Witty, man. It's a fight night. I wish it was a pay-per-view. We would have been front and center talking to Aldo.
Well, we are there next week, December 12th, for the same reason. It's a big card. 2 big title fights coming in. But before that,
the return of the Amanda Lioness.
And a lot more. But yes, before that, let us know. It's Jose Aldo taking on Rob Font. We also have Brad Riddle on this card. We have Clay Guida, who's back.
Always there. He doesn't leave, I think. He stays there at the arena, I think, at this point. I mean, we love Clay Guida. I think he's always game for a fight.
Like someone injured and he puts his hand up, says,
I'm
here. Clay Guida is here. And we have Jimmy Crute, the Australian, who's back on the card. So some great fights on that.
Jimmy Crute is back after his injury. I think it was a dead leg against Anthony Smith.
Yes.
He got finished because of the leg injury.
Yes.
The leg
yes.
gave up on him. Man, that was a great fight till that happened.
Absolutely. It was great. But Anthony Smith was smart enough to continuously strike that area that was paining.
That was actually the first pay-per-view that was back with a crowd.
Yes.
In after this horrible bullshit pandemic, and guys, again, it looks like the Omicron virus is out. The variant is there. You got to stay safe. There are a lot of reports coming from different parts of the world, but just go back to being vigilant, please, everybody.
I actually don't understand what's really going on. Is it like a gameplay or
it's true, but
there are multiple viruses mutating all the time. I just feel people are over this at the moment.
No, but the thing is it's only been 2 years. Now see, the multiple viruses, cold and flu and all, people die of cold and flu also.
Yeah.
But the thing is that it's the worrisome part of this is very infectious.
Very
so
very
it'll
true.
just spread suddenly. Like suddenly it'll be 200,000 people.
Absolutely.
That is the problem. That is the only problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stay safe. If you haven't got jabbed, get the jab. Please wear a mask at all times. Follow government rules and regulations.
You get Herbie to say this.
Please be careful of yourself and your surroundings. But Chips, let's go back on the fight card. The most important fight of the night, which is coming up December 5th. Rob Font taking on Jose Aldo, who's gunning for the title belt. He has clearly said he is waiting for TJ Dillashaw to come back, and he's looking to take out Rob Font and fight TJ next. Do you think that's going to happen, or is it going to go the other way?
No, look, see, if you're going to talk about skill pound for pound, look, Rob Font has got great hands, and Jose Aldo is a good enough boxer to hang with Rob Font.
Right.
Not only that, Jose Aldo also has, just because he doesn't use it, he has a very underrated ground game. He has some good takedowns. He's got great jiu-jitsu. And not to mention those lethal kicks that he employs.
Yes.
The only thing the thing here is that we've always noticed Jose Aldo has a tendency to slow down. If this was a 3-round fight, I would not be surprised Jose Aldo winning this.
Right.
In a 5-round fight, Jose Aldo has shown the tendency of, emptying out the gas tank and leaving very little bit for the 4th and the 5th.
Correct.
Which is where if Rob Font can survive the early storm, then he can go somewhere. But that being said, Rob Font is a stud in his own right. He's a very big upcoming superstar. He's in that title picture. He's in the top 3. He's amongst the Sandhagens and the Dillashaws and the Jans and the Sterlings.
Right.
So, Rob Font poses a very, very significant threat. But a fighting Aldo is like always having a trump card. You don't know which Aldo shows up. Is the Aldo that can land a body shot and turn your lights out like he did against Jeremy Stephens?
Yeah.
Can be the kind of Aldo that even current interim champion Peter Yan had to change his strategy after eating one leg kick from Aldo.
Yes.
Which knocked him down. And that's Peter Yan, one of the toughest SOBs.
In fact, Jose Aldo has said that he's been training with the Brazilian Navy boxing team.
The boxing team. Yes, correct.
He's been training with the Brazilian Navy boxing team, and that is why his head movement and his hands have got so crisp.
He's gotten much crisper. And, the thing is that, Jose Aldo, nobody's going to take him down. Yeah. Because he's got great hips. He's got, he's not facing on a wrestler. So anybody who's going to try and stand in front of him, Jose Aldo always will have a slight advantage. Correct. Experience, power, not to mention that devastating power that he brings in. And he started picking his moments to land those kicks.
Yes. Yeah. So he's not, he's not emptying his gas tank. He's not wasting his energy.
Yeah.
He's still picking his shots. He's got mature. He's learned with his losses in the past.
Exactly.
And now there's a rejuvenated and a revived Jose Aldo that is out there.
More mature, more calm. And so I am going to be picking the legend, Jose Aldo.
Excellent. That's a brilliant choice. It's rank number 4 versus rank number 5 in the bantamweight division, main event of the evening. I too am going to go with the legend. No, it's just a logical choice. I think Jose Aldo has become way more matured. He's become calmer in his head.
True.
And I think he's going to pick his shots and not go for the kill.
Yeah, I think he will really, really look. Firstly, Rob Font is such a tough SOB. It's not going to be that easy to find the openings. Yeah. But if anybody can find an opening, it's Jose Aldo.
Absolutely, yes. So Mystic Chips and Superhuman Kamra are going to go with legend Jose Aldo. If you want to make your picks and win some exciting merchandise of the Fighting Go t-shirts, mugs, caps, fridge magnets, you need to tag us, hashtag us. Chips, what's your ID?
My ID is on Twitter, it's @the Mystic Chips. And on Instagram, it's @Arjun Chips.
Awesome.
What about you, Mr. Kamra?
You can tag me on Instagram, somesh.kamra. And on Twitter, it is somesh_kamra. Hashtag and tag IVM
at ivmpodcast.com on all social platforms and get a chance to win some exciting merchandise.
Absolutely.
Chip, having said that, what's the latest update on the Fighting G.O.A.T?
The latest update is that all the episodes will now release on Thursdays instead of Wednesdays because of partly my fault, because of my recording time.
Not really. It is because our producer Suroni believes in Sai Baba.
Correct. Thursdays will be now the dates that our podcast will release at 6 a.m. in the morning, 6:30 a.m. in the morning. You can tune in on every platform from Spotify to Ghana to Savin to Geo to Apple to YouTube to, you want to come and listen to me? I live in Vadala. You can come and listen to it live also. We'll sit and watch it together. You can listen to it on ivmpodcast.com. And this has been an incredible episode. We were talking about legends. We finally hit our first Legends episode. This is episode 40 of the Fighting G.O.A.T. You've been listening to Arjun, aka Mystic Chips, Chipalkatti, and Somesh, the Superhuman Kamra. Catch us next week. Stay safe, stay guarded, and protect yourself. See you soon.
Don't you think that if everyone around you is getting smart, you better be smarter? Hey there, I'm the traveling professor Siddharth Deshmukh, and I'm back with season 2 of my podcast to make you smarter. Smarter with Sid. What's this season's focus about? Well, it's about 10-minute nuggets that will make you stand out at work. It's time to go from smart to smarter. Tune in every Tuesday and Thursday and become smarter with Sid.
Eventually, you'll see the end of your childhood.
Get accustomed to womanhood.
Enjoy the experience of sisterhood.
Might get to wifehood.
Or not. Choose motherhood.
Or not. You'll learn to define your personhood.
Earn a livelihood.
Change the neighborhood.
And get rid of the falsehood that life post-academia is easy.
So join me, Natasha.
And me, Ayushi.
On a journey from station starting point.
To station, what now?
Next station, Pudin station. And hopefully, Agla station, adulthood.
Fresh episodes out every Thursday.